Good evening and welcome to today's English News Bulletins. We do hope you had yourselves a productive Wednesday. Now here's a sneak peek of our edition. News tonight. Leaders from various sectors who attended the Africa Mindset Reset Forum have called on young Africans to play an active role in the continent's development. The Gatsenya District authorities, in partnership with the National Agricultural Export Development Board, NAYEB, have stepped up efforts to rejuvenate more than 3 million old coffee trees that are no longer productive. We're glad to have your company tonight. My name is Enora Gladys Awatoni. Now let's kick off. This afternoon at Village Urugwiro, President Paul Kagame, we met with Wamkele Mene, Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, reaffirming Rwanda's commitment to implementing the Continental Trade Agreement. Discussions also touched on the importance of member states honoring commitments in order to realize the broader goal of expanded intra-African trade. President Paul Kagame also received Her Excellency Monica Gingos, former First Lady of Namibia and Chancellor of Kepler College, who is in Kigali for the Africa Mindset Reset Forum. They discussed the role of education and access to opportunity in advancing youth empowerment in Rwanda and across the continent. The President also met with His Excellency Thabo Mbeki, who is in Kigali for the Africa Mindset Reset Forum. Their discussions focused on forum's objectives and the need for good governance to anchor Africa's mindset shift. Now moving on with more news ahead, leaders from various sectors who attended the Africa Mindset Reset Forum have called on young Africans to play an active role in the continent's development, particularly by embracing progressive mindsets that provide solutions to the challenges facing Africa. Adams Kwizera kicks off tonight.
Students at the Africa School of Governance were among the majority of participants at the two-day forum held in Kigali. Some of the young participants say discussions about the mindset Africa needs for development should remain closely connected to the mindset of ordinary citizens who should be at the forefront of decisions and initiatives that affect them.
Really important as African to have a really shift in mindset, because I am a software engineer, but I have to actually have a shift to understand that whatever I do should be connected to people. So I should have an understanding of what happens in the government, what happens in the people, in the community. So it all comes to changing of our mindsets, how we think, how we see things. So as a future leader, what I'm going to do, it will be all about teaching people how they should learn about the country, love the country, and also whatever they do, they should avoid corruption.
Let's execute. To me, I genuinely believe in my philosophy in life is that vision without execution is just hallucination. A lot of our African countries, a lot of our African communities has just been on the basis of dream. Let's dream big about Africa. No, let's execute about Africa. So taking back home in South Africa, I mean, there's a lot of problems that are around in public administration, around community services. How best can I play a part as an individual?
This was also emphasized by Zuela Yusuf, Chief Executive Officer of the Aliko Dangote Foundation, who said putting in place key programs that directly benefit citizens is essential. She also stressed the need to promote programs that build people's capacity and enable them to become self-reliant rather than remaining dependent on government support, while ensuring that such programs are implemented by the governments across African countries.
Also, local ownership is really key. Through community health workers, farmer cooperatives, local entrepreneurs, we put agency in African hands and shift the narrative from being helped into building together. So we never approach anything as we're bringing you a solution. Oh, we have money, we're Aliko Dangote Foundation, we're coming to help you. No. What we need to do is build together with the people that we're aiming to support. And this is what we need to do as a whole.
Involving young people in governance and development of projects is also among the approaches highlighted by Claire Kamanzi, who spoke about changing the mindset of Africans. She cited the sports sector as an example of an area that is increasingly creating opportunities for development as a result of changing mindset.
The biggest mindset shift is how we see and think about sports in Africa. Sports is not just talent. Sports is not just recreation. Sports is actually an economy. Sports is a big business. Look at
the Chief Executive Officer of Rwanda Governance Board, Dr. Doris Uwitieza-Pika, highlighted Rwanda's journey towards finding homegrown solutions, noting that this journey required governance focused on self-reliance, and it could serve as a lesson for Africa.
Africa is always confronted, for decades now, has been confronted with a narrative of deficit. We're always told what we lack. We lack capacity, we lack technology, we lack infrastructure. And our success stories are kind of undermined and left behind. And what we need to do is now to achieve a critical mass of mind shift initiatives so that we can challenge this narrative that says that we have a million problems. When at its very core, Africa, what we have is a mindset challenge. And it is, and we spoke about how the Rwanda model is one of those initiatives. It was one of those mindset shifting initiatives through our homegrown solutions, whereby we looked inwards for solutions to problems that we are faced with. When you have scarce resources and high ambition, that's how you come up with homegrown solutions. How can we, through our own capabilities, our own culture, our own values, respond directly to the problems that we're facing and move forward? Yeah.
At the forum, which concluded on Wednesday, most speakers focused on how young Africans can take advantage of the opportunities available to them and make better use of Africa's resources. They noted that the continent does not lack resources needed for development, but that much depends on how Africa's young people are prepared to transform and make productive use of the continent's abundant natural resources. Adams Kwizera, RwandaTV News.
Experts across Africa found that air transport barriers on the continent, including higher prices, limit its economic dependency and growth. This is as only 10 states out of the 38 have implemented the provisions of their single African air transport market. Prince Manzi has the details.
The challenges facing Africa's aviation sector remain a major concern for experts and industry leaders who say limited connectivity and high travel costs are holding back the continent's economic potential, despite Africa's air passenger traffic projected to grow by 6% in 2026. During the Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026, the Chief Executive Officer of the Rwanda, Yvonne Makolo, shedded light on why the travel costs are expensive in Africa.
We're very fortunate to have a government that understands the importance of aviation, which is not always the case in all the African countries. So that has worked very well for us. But it's still a big challenge. Operating within the African continent as an airline is a huge, huge challenge. And that's always the first question anybody asks me when they find out I work at Rwanda is, why are your tickets so expensive? That's standard, everybody. So that's where we start to see all the barriers that make connecting the continent so difficult. Whether it's the fuel prices, which are 20 to 40% higher than in other areas in the world, the high airport taxes, all the charges that are lumped on before we even put our base fare. So before you even put the Rwanda fare, we have between 100 and, if you move to Central Africa, 200, 300 in West Africa already on the ticket. So that's before you put the overflight, the ground handling charges, all the charges that start adding up. And that's why you can't get a $200 flight between Kigali and Johannesburg, let's say.
In this two-day Africa Mindset Reset Forum 2026, leaders, policymakers, and creators shared ideas on what is lacking for Africa to embrace its sustainable growth. Participants of the forum affirmed that despite failure in policy execution, there's still potential of what is possible, mostly if the youth are engaged.
So I have examples of people who want to buy Nigerian fabrics. And they say to me, Rotimi, I want to buy the kind of attire you're wearing. How do I get it? What do? I connect them to a tailor. They do virtual consultations on video. When the attire is ready, we say on WhatsApp status, who is traveling to Nairobi? I have a dress to send. Somebody says, no, I'm not going to Nairobi, I'm going to Mombasa. Don't worry, take it. We'll find another person to move it from Mombasa to Nairobi. And that's the informal economy that young people in Africa are already building. And so we have to develop the policy to match them. And I think our African leaders are not listening enough to young people. Young people are already connecting. Despite the barriers and the challenges, young people in Africa are already connecting.
Young people are asking to be invited to the table where these decisions that affect us are being made. For instance, over the next 30 years, I will still not be 50. So those decisions, they really matter to me. So what will I do? The first thing is I'm going to make sure that I understand the landscape of what I'm trying to change, right? Because when you are invited to the table as a young person, you need to be able to have very practical solutions to bring to the table that makes it very, very important that you are there. And then I think something else would be that, is there a world where young Africans are invited to sit at important policy discussions?
The Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, Cleva Gatete, reiterated that there's need for political will to address the air transport barriers in Africa.
Because the Yamoussoukro Agreement, what they call the declaration, was in 1988. And then 10 years later, 1999, that's when the Yamoussoukro decision was taken. And then after almost 20 years, in 2018, that's when SATAM was born. Okay? You can see how much time we've lost. And now we are talking about 38 countries which have committed. And we are still signing the bilateral air service agreement. We are still putting taxes in place, the fees, the charges, and we are all happy paying a higher price when you are all traveling. Even a country that does not have an airline is still making it very expensive. And others are following suit. And we are all paying the price for that. And that's why we are saying if we don't do it quickly, because this is the only way you can move goods and services across the continent. Right. If we don't just invest on 3.5 runway, rather than the road from one country to another, this will be the cheapest way of moving goods and services by just air cargo transportation. And if a decision can be taken quickly, I think this is what will make a big difference.
In 2025, Africa accounted for 2.2% of global passenger traffic, indicating significant room for further expansion. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
A delegation from Liberia led by the Minister of State without portfolio at the Liberian presidency visited the Mutobo Demobilization and Reintegration Center. The Rwanda Demobilization and Reintegration Center Commission said it is ready to collaborate with the government of Liberia in a number of areas. We do have the details. The delegation from Liberia was first briefed by the Rwanda Demobilization and Reintegration Commission on the activities carried out at the Mutobo Center. The Director General of the Commission, Honorable Valerie Nyirahayuneza, presented to the delegation some of the activities undertaken at Mutobo, including receiving returnees who have come from armed groups. Honorable Momaka Biliti, Minister of State without portfolio, commended the government of Rwanda and the Commission in particular for their work in receiving returnees from armed groups and helping them reintegrate into civilian life and live alongside other members of the community.
I would like to thank the government of Rwanda and the leadership here at the Mutobo Demobilization Center for doing what they do, because for you to get this kind of program successful, we appreciate what the government has done for its people and what you have done for this program, because it takes people like yourselves to want to be better people, for you to come here and rehabilitate yourselves, to go back into the community and be good people and good citizens. So I wish you all the best for the future. We take our hats off to you on behalf of the government of Liberia, my delegation present here. We wish you all the best and thank you for going through this process. And we look forward to hearing your stories when you transition back into your communities.
As Liberia is one of the African countries that have experienced prolonged civil conflicts, Honorable Valerie Nyirahayuneza, the chairperson of Rwanda Demobilization and Reintegration Commission, said they are ready to work with the government of Liberia on matters related to the reintegration of former combatants and helping them live peacefully with the communities they return to.
niba abantu batashye bavuye mu mirwano bavuye ku rugamba ese binjira bate mu muryango
If
wabo?
people return home after coming from the battlefield, how do they reintegrate into their families? That is one of their major challenges they identified. And we are certainly ready to work together on that. We also discussed other aspects of reintegration. For example, how can those who have been reintegrated undergo an assessment and then receive something like a certificate if they have not yet found a satisfactory job? That certificate could help build trust in them and enable them to access better or higher level employment opportunities. We discussed that, and we believe we will also work together on it. We are ready to support them in all other areas that His Excellency the President of the Republic and the country may ask us to assist with.
Izatume agirirwa icyizere cyo kugira ngo abe yagera no mu kandi kazi kari hejuru kisumbuye.
Liberia is known as one of the African countries that was the first to be led by a woman, and it is also a country that was never colonized. The country went through 2 civil wars between 1989 and 2003. The Gatenye District authorities, in partnership with the National Agricultural Export Development Board, have stepped up our efforts to rejuvenate more than 3 million old coffee trees that are no longer productive. Some farmers who have already started rejuvenating their coffee trees with support from the sustainable growers say they now clearly understand the importance of rejuvenating and renewing coffee plantations and are also expanding the land under coffee cultivation. We do have the details. Plantation covering 4 hectares in Muzo and Mugunga sectors, we found coffee farmers, most of them women and young people, organized into 76 groups. Rejuvenating their coffee trees, they are using modern machines and other equipment to cut down old trees so that they can be rejuvenated. Agricultural extension workers from the non-government organizations, Sustainable Growers, which aims to empower women and their families through sustainable coffee farming, continue to support these farmers in adopting modern coffee growing practices. The farmers say they have now understood the importance of rejuvenating coffee trees. In the past, we did not know how to properly manage coffee crops. Our husbands would go and harvest the coffee while we will help them. But sometimes we would find that it brought us no real benefit. However, under the government of national unity, the government is now reaching out to us and providing us with training. During this coffee growing season, more than 4,000 farmers in Gatenye district, most of them women and young people, are being supported by Sustainable Growers and NAYEB to promote coffee production. Jimmy Gahima, LSS Executive Director of Sustainable Growers in Rwanda, says they are committed to working with the government of Rwanda to promote coffee production by raising awareness among women.
We have been working with the National Agriculture and Export Board to rejuvenate the coffee trees. Most of the coffees have overgrown themselves. I do believe mostly precisely in Gakenke where we are today, over 1 million coffee trees have actually grown beyond 30 years, and as a result of that the growth has reduced, and in terms of quality as well has been compromised. So that's the reason why we are here to do the campaign with the farmers and go to the farm and tell them it's time to prune, it's time to rejuvenate your trees so you can have more production as well as more quality in the coming years to increase the viability and livelihoods of your families.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The non-governmental organization Sustainable Growers operates in 3 countries, the DRC, Tanzania and Rwanda. Across these countries, it works with more than 78,000 farmers, most of whom are women, while in Rwanda, it works with more than 15,500 coffee farmers. Farmers in Gatenye appreciate the government of Rwanda's continued efforts to promote coffee production, saying it has helped them overcome poverty. According to the findings of Rwanda's 7th Household Living Conditions Survey, the poverty rate in the district stands at 24.6%. Coffee has helped us improve our lives. There are children who used to stay at home instead of going to school, but now, after taking our coffee to the processing plant, our children are able to go to school. We have also been able to pay our health insurance contributions on time. And now, as women, we no longer have to borrow money to buy clothes. We are financially better off. The Gatenye district authorities, in partnership with the development partners, plan to distribute 2.3 million coffee seedlings during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. The seedlings will be used to rejuvenate existing coffee plantations and expand the area under coffee cultivation in Gakenke district. The district has set a target of rejuvenating more than 1,000 hectares of coffee plantations by 2029. And now that wraps up today's English News Bulletin. On behalf of the whole entire team that prepared this news, thank you very much for watching. Have a good night, stay safe, and to stay with Rwanda Television. My name is Enora Gladys Abatoni.